Every relationship has moments of compromise. In fact, I would say that you can't have a healthy relationship if the two partners are not willing to compromise at times. But a lot of couples struggle with compromise because they think the only type of compromise is the 50-50. And sometimes it's just not possible to have a meet in the middle compromise. So in today's video, I want to talk about a few tips that will help you compromise, and I want to discuss 5 different types of compromise that may be helpful when you can't meet in the middle. That's today on Relationshots. Welcome to Relationshots. My name's Eric Wooten. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome to the place to get practical relationship advice that actually works in your relationship. If you've not already done so, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss any upcoming videos. If you want a free guide to intimacy, you can use the link below in the description area to download that. And hey, I'm excited to tell you about something I just completed. It's an online course specifically about communication. If you know anything about relationships, you know communication is the key, the foundation of a healthy relationship. And so I have an online course called Closing the Communication Gap. 19 videos, over 12 exercises, tons of tips and practical tools that I guarantee will help you in communicating in your relationship, no matter where your relationship's at. So you can check out the link below and get all the details on that as well. But today, let's talk about the dreaded C word, compromise. We don't really like that word because attached to compromise are other words we really don't like submission and surrender. So we like to stay with something on compromise. It feels less weak and less powerless. So we're just going to talk about compromise today. But a healthy relationship is going to require people to compromise at times. There's no getting around it. You got two different people with two different perspectives, two different interests and ideas on things. And at some point, they have to agree upon a decision because the decision will affect both of them. Maybe it's how to discipline or parent children, maybe how to handle finances, maybe something simple like where to go to eat. But you've got a decision to be made that affects two different people that have different vested interests, different perspectives, and different ideas on how the decision should go down. So they're going to have to learn how to compromise. The question you may ask is, then how do we compromise? That's complicated. Here's why it's complicated. Different people have an easier time or harder time compromising based on personalities, based on past hurts and fears that come along with those hurts, based on maturity levels. And so compromise is not equal among all people, but we all have to learn how to get there. At some point, you're going to have to figure out, listen, how do I compromise in a relationship? Unless you find yourself a relationship where you always get your way and the other partner never gets their way. But if you find that relationship, I'm here to tell you that's not real healthy, so you want to get out of it anyway. So how do we compromise? Well, what I want to do in today's video is I want to give you a few tips that I think will help you as you compromise. And then I want to talk about 5 different types of compromise. You do know that the only compromise is not the meet in the middle compromise. So I want to give you a few other types of compromise that may help you when you have to compromise and you just can't meet in the middle. So let's talk about a few tips first. I got 3 tips that I think may help you as you try to navigate compromising in your relationship. Number 1 is just keep a long-term perspective. See, part of the problem we have in compromise is we think that this decision and this conflict is the end of everything. But I promise you, there will probably be times somewhere down the road in the relationship where not only will you have to compromise in another area, but you'll probably have to compromise in the same area again. So even if you feel like you're, quote, losing this compromise, have a long-term perspective. This is one little battle in a really big war. Not that marriage is a war, but you get the picture. So this is one moment, and I think when you keep a long-term perspective, it helps take some of the pressure and the weight off this decision. This is what it is. You're going to have another one tomorrow, probably another one next week. So having a long-term perspective can relieve a little bit of the pressure and weight of the current situation that you have to talk about. So just keep a long-term perspective. Tip number 2 is put yourself in their shoes. It's called empathy. Listen, if you have the ability to put yourself in their shoes, see things from their perspective, I promise you it will help you compromise. You have a lot easier time compromising if you see some merit or value in their perspective than when you don't see any value in the way they're approaching the situation. It's going to be real hard for you to compromise. And the third idea is just consider a third option. Here's what I mean. Most of the time in compromise, we think it's either your way or my way. I'm saying there may be a third option that is not your way or their way, but it may be some combination of the two of them. So it's not always either you get your way or I get my way, but you need to understand that there can be a third option, and I want to talk about some of those. So let's talk about 5 different types of compromise that may work in your relationship. The first one is the one that most of us understand. I would call it just the split the difference. And this is, you have 2 differences and you go, you know what, let's just meet in the middle and split the difference. So maybe the temperature of the house, you like it 72, they like it 68. Let's split the difference, let's go 70. Maybe you're an extrovert, they're an introvert. You wanna go out twice a week, they wanna go out never. So you say, maybe we just go out once a week, or maybe we just go out once every 2 weeks. But what you're doing is saying, you know what, let's just split the difference on this one. Maybe it's a financial deal where you're trying to decide what to do with some discretionary funds. And you know what, you say, you know what, I think 500 is too much. You think 200 is too little. Why don't we just meet somewhere in the middle? Let's call it 350 and let's move on down the road. So one type of compromise is split the difference. A second type of compromise is if you do this for me, then I'll do that for you compromise. So it might be, hey, if you can pick up my dry cleaning, then I'll go ahead and pick up dinner. Or it might be, hey, if you come to the basketball game with me, I'll go ahead and watch your Hallmark movie. Even though I know the plot and I know how it's going to go and how it's going to end. And the guy from the big city corporation comes in to close down the small town business only to fall in love with the girl who happens to be the daughter of the business owner. And at the end of the day, guess what they do? They usually find a win-win compromise. So it's, you do this for me, I'll do that for you compromise. Compromise number 3 is the my way this time, your way next time compromise. So you may say, hey, why don't we go to the restaurant I want tonight, and then maybe we can go to the restaurant you want next time. You may do this for eating out. You may do this for where do you take vacations. You may do this for how you spend money at times. Why don't we spend our discretionary funds on what you want this month, and then next month I get to choose what we spend it on. So it's my way this time, and it's your way next time. A fourth type of compromise is a little of what I want with a little of what you want. And this may happen, let's say you're buying a car and I really want a sunroof, you really want a certain color. So why don't we get one with the sunroof in the color that you want? Maybe you do the same thing with buying a house. A 3-car garage is really important to me. A soaker tub is really important to you. A big backyard is important to me. An office downstairs is important to you. So it's a little bit of what I want with a little bit of what you want type of compromise. And the 5th type of compromise is called the temporary try. Why don't we do it my way for 2 weeks, and then if that doesn't work, we'll go back to your way. So you're basically saying, hey, we're gonna do it my way for a short period of time, see how that works out. If it doesn't work out, then we'll go back to your way. Or we'll do it your way for a couple weeks, and if that's not working out, we'll go back to my way. It's a temporary try compromise. So there's a few tips on how we can have a better perspective in compromise and 5 different types of compromises we can get into so we can increase the variety and maybe figure out ways to compromise where we couldn't compromise before because we thought the only one was meet right in the middle. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear if you have some other ways that you and your partner compromise and try to work things out when there's conflict. Love to hear it. We'd all like to learn from that. So drop a comment in the comment section below. If you think this video would be helpful to a friend, consider sharing it with a friend. And if you need some help in communication in your relationship, I promise you, check out the link to the communication course below. You'll see all that's involved in that. If you have any questions, shoot us an email. But I promise you that better connection will come from greater communication and ultimately build you a stronger relationship. I'll see you next time right here on Relation Shots.